Namaste. Today we shall discuss about love. This intense emotional faculty which we all have sometimes expresses itself, sometimes it doesn't. But the problem is, more often than not, we try to ascribe it to a person outside, or as if it is that external condition that triggered it in us. So we become attached to that person, and he or she is forced to live up to your expectation, because this feeling of love knows no bounds. It is pure, unlimited, and sacred. So when we falsely ascribe it to a person, what we are doing is we are expecting that person to live up to that. And if you are lucky, this delusion will drop away in a few minutes of interaction. Or if we are unlucky, we may be living with that person. We may end up living with that person. And he or she, it's not their fault, soon will show their natural tendencies, which will definitely contradict this ideal of love, because this ideal is so high, it's unimaginably high, that nothing on this earth, nothing mortal, nothing transient can ever satisfy that pure urge of union. So this sacred feeling, instead of discarding it or refusing to believe that it is there, or to deny it completely, instead of that, if we can analyze it and find that what we wrongly ascribed it to the person outside is not actually coming from outside, but it is this feeling which is a yearning to realize ourself, which is God, the real nature of every one of us. In the scriptures we find, for example, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yagyavalkya tells Maitreyi, Atmanastu kamayam sarvam priyam bhavati. Atmanastu kamayam patih priyo bhavati. It is for the sake of the self that one loves her husband. It is for the sake of the self that everything in this universe is loved. So when we give this true direction, if we direct our love towards this proper channel, which is towards God, then this same utility, same faculty will empower us, and we will progress in leaps and bounds. Some may object, saying that why should you deny the love outside? I love this person and I married him or her, and we are living fine for the past 10 years or 20 years. We are absolutely euphoric all the time. It may happen in rare cases, but even there, just think about death. Misery comes. Nothing transient can sustain that feeling. You will not be eternally satisfied with any person, because that is not the real thing that you want. The real thing that you want, the real object of your love, is God. The outside love is a pale manifestation of that. So once we realize this truth, then we can dive deep within and cherish that sacred feeling of love and point it to God. It is not emotionally tiring. It is not a nervous outburst, but a feeling of serene, deep, and subtle joy. And there is an intensity, the lack of which is the reason why people ask this question, how to love God, or how can we attain bhakti? We do not ask that when we fall in love with a person. Since we are not able to love God in that, it's not a spontaneous event. Since it is not a spontaneous event in our life, falling in love with God, that is why we require jnana. That is, know about God, know about the self, know about the truth behind this manifold existence, which will condition our mind, or rather dehypnotize our mind. Our case is like that of a drunkard who is completely lost in his delusional thinking. So we need to remove the intoxication of worldly love and direct that same emotion, that same feeling of sacredness to the divine. It doesn't matter whether it is a personal God or even impersonal, your own self, because as Shankaracharya says, bhakti is swaswaroopanusandhanam. Even meditating or manan on your own self is bhakti. The intensity is what matters. The next time we find ourselves getting attached to people or situations outside, we can recognize this pattern and try to gather our faculties of emotional and intellectual capabilities to attach ourselves to God or the self within. The feeling is so sacred that Sri Ramakrishna says Bhakta doesn't even care about mukti. What mukti? From what he wants freedom. He doesn't feel any bondage, because this feeling can truly liberate you. This intense feeling. And we all know that, how we, when we love a person, how much of that sacred feeling engulfs you. So the same thing, if the other person reciprocates, the delusion will sustain for a few months or years. But if not, it ends up in misery if it is directed outward. But this same unlimited feeling of sacredness can be directed to God, and then it is nirvriti, or what you call ultimate fulfillment in life. Since we all have this faculty, this is the wisest thing to do with it. Direct it Godwards. And how to direct it Godwards? Just be with the feeling, without ascribing it to a person, without wanting any object to be the object of that particular feeling. If you need such an object, choose a personal form of God. Meditate on the glories of that personal form. That could be of great help in the beginning. Namaste.